Right. All right, guys, let's start. So today we have Daniel Stange here with us, and we will hear some interesting stuff about Einstein Analytics, uh, now called Tableau CRM, but no one gives a damn. Okay, so today it's a bit unusual for us, but we have the event in English uh, due to Daniel Stange doesn't speak Russian yet.
Yet.
All right, and very interesting agenda. So we opened Zoom already, and now we will have the presentation. And that's all I got. Thanks, and Daniel, to you.
Yeah, sure. Let's over to the what typically should have oops, what typically you have to pass screen sharing on to me
Oh,
because I
so
can share.
yeah.
And yeah, well. First off, thank you very much for inviting me and being interested in my stories. So for please, whenever you think I speak too fast or you don't understand, you don't get what I mean, feel free to interrupt me and ask me straight away, because I like to be more in a conversation instead of being the expert and everyone's like going, I don't dare to just say anything, even if I talk something more rubbish. So that happens actually. It's not in my role to be right and correct all the time, and but I'm really interested in having conversations. I hope you can. I share the correct screen now. Let me know if you don't see my presentation. So my just a that's a big news actually that was announced 6 weeks ago, that Einstein Analytics as a brand will go away, and everything is going to be a Tableau brand, Tableau CRM, and I probably can give you an idea why they chose the name. I gave it's a more generic presentation that I give on intelligent analytics for Salesforce. So to give you an idea what the positioning of Einstein Analytics is and why you probably want it more than having just standard dashboards and reports in your org. For some use cases, it's really worth the money. Um, a few words about me. My name is Daniel Stange. I'm in a technical architect role with an implementation partner in Germany, the Interaktiven. Short name is DIA. If you want to reach out, Stangomat is my Twitter handle, and that's also my Trailblazer ID. So if you want to find me on the Trailblazer community, that's trailblazer.me/ID/Stangomat, or my Twitter handle. I'm a Salesforce MVP since March this year, and I'm an analytics champion, one of the first and inaugural analytics champions batch. And as you can see, I'm also the one of the. I'm not only member of the first cohort of Einstein Analytics champions. I'm also member of the last cohort of analytics champions, because there will be Tableau CRM champions in the next cohort. Nikita asked me to bring my golden shoes because I'm a bit famous for these silly shoes. So as I can't really show them or put the machine under my desk, I thought I'd give you some impressions on these shoes. Someday I probably, if there is a Russia Dreamin event in the future, I will definitely come and bring my golden studded sparkling shoes because they are kind of well known. So speaking of analytics, there is this is a marketing slide from Salesforce on what kind of analytics there are and where they want to set themselves apart. There is the one thing that they say, traditional BI is always centered around systems with huge monolith of data. It's not going to change anywhere anytime soon after you build up these huge sets of data. So this is typically quite an ancient view on looking at data. The typical approach that you still see over in all places is the thing that is also mostly about visualization. This is for the analyst, and this is typically the way you see people work with Power BI or Tableau desktop. So the whole idea about this sequence of analytics is a bit centered on the past experience that Salesforce has, and where they want to set the Einstein Analytics product apart. Nowadays, with the merger with Tableau, they probably see both Tableau and Salesforce Einstein Analytics on the right hand side as the analytics product. But I want to point you at the fine print here. They say just say intelligent experience. By that they mean there's artificial intelligence somewhere, but they also say it's business user centric, and that's really the key of what Einstein Analytics is for, and where you can and should use Einstein Analytics. This is bring data and insights from data very close to the business processes, and this is the unique position that Einstein Analytics can have. And no Tableau dashboard that is closely related to your Salesforce data will eventually bring this if you do this right. And I will elaborate a bit in a minute. So where is the intelligence in analytics? It's in a center between traditional analytics and traditional AI. As you probably know, the Einstein Analytics, the Einstein offering is kind of simplified AI for business users, more or less. So it's not the full-blown AI suite where you go TensorFlow and whatever, but it's on the one hand side you have the data coming in that can answer your questions like what happened and why did it happen, probably, and where you have the visualization tools. And on the right hand side you have the prediction and prescription. So what will happen or what may happen, and what is the action that I should take. And there's a number of big buzzwords on the right hand side. The most important thing is that you don't have to bother about experts using these technologies. It is more or less built in and easy to handle. So that's the unique approach of Einstein Analytics. That is that you have the AI-driven components in a kind of plug and play or click through approach.
Daniel, I have a good question here.
For sure.
On the previous slide, it says bots on the right.
Mm-hmm.
How do bots work with Einstein Analytics?
It doesn't point exactly on the integration with Einstein Analytics. It's just this is in the AI. These are examples for the components that are typically in the AI layer, but not necessarily in the center between both.
Okay.
So it's typically the things that you do with the AI layer of Salesforce, but not actually what you can see in Einstein Analytics. It's probably good point. It's not obvious that it points at the general area. On the left-hand side, you can see also manual business actions. That's one of the key differentiators, that Einstein Analytics doesn't have these manual business actions, but more or less the integration. So nice layered architecture chart. What is it that you get when you buy Einstein Analytics Plus? Einstein Analytics Plus is the largest license for Einstein Analytics. It differentiates. On the one hand side, analytics growth is the baseline. It has everything except the AI parts, and Analytics Plus is the full license that includes the AI parts. So only you have what you always get is the data intake from a wide range of cloud technologies. So it's not just Salesforce data, but that you can consume, but also cloud databases and Snowflake and whatever it is, plus the typical Salesforce products, and for more for the more advanced for some of the products like Pardot or the manufacturing cloud, there are pre-built analytics templates. These template apps are really strong, so they are to give you a good guidance whenever you buy the product and don't know how to start. You can simply click on a button and roll out B2B marketing analytics or sales analytics or service analytics. These used to be separate licenses in the past and have become a part of the basic license now, so that you can roll out simple applications. These well, actually, they're not simple. They are kind of really powerful applications, and you can also see and learn from these templates how stuff is built. Integration Cloud is kind of a cloudy word in the middle. It doesn't mean that's not MuleSoft. That's the ETL layer in Einstein Analytics. There is a specific tool that extracts data and builds these data sets. So Einstein Analytics has its own ETL middleware, more or less, built in. And a lot of tools to visually connect data sets to each other. Data sets is what they call the what's typically called cubes in other BI applications, and basically data in whatever application you choose. And with the plus licenses, the dark blue areas come into play. That's basically an AI layer that requires no code at all, and which works more or less out of the box with the data that you have. You can make adjustments, etc., and push a few buttons. And then there's the kind of self-service AI working on your data. You don't have that big impact. You don't have to have many options to choose, but you also get results without really knowing the details of the AI. So it has pros and cons. And built on this, now comes what's really the cool part of Einstein Analytics. That is what they call advanced analytics tooling. And the big thing actually is the action framework. So you can connect, everything could be based on Salesforce data. You can expose actions from the Salesforce side and surface it in your dashboards. So when you report on opportunities, you can choose a point at some chart or bar in the chart, and then click and create a task or create whatever an event, or create a new opportunity if you see a gap in the data. And this is actually what we leverage quite often to give people the opportunity to analyze data and then immediately take action from what they see. That's the action framework. It surfaces actions straight in the data. And that's actually, and then actually the dark blue layer is available for everything. It has the insights part, it has data discovery, it has the augmented data prep in the recipes, for example. So there's a lot of things building on the data layer. Okay, so much for the licensing theory. What's actually the value of running BI and AI in your org? And that's probably the reason behind what you want to solve is that you typically, when you work with data, you typically look in the rear view mirror to drive forward. And in situations like these, it's a bit critical to drive fast if you don't see through the fog. And the big idea behind analytics is to kind of take away the fog in when you drive forward. So to make meaningful, get meaningful insights from the past instead of just looking into the past. So I'm not looking into the past of my my time tracking to know how many hours I tracked yesterday, but I want to learn what does it mean for the revenue we'll create at the end of the month. So it's always the ways. The key bit is turn the turn your insights from looking backwards to looking forward, and this is where the AI component helps. I will show some details and examples in a minute. How does it come that analytics often are so backward looking, and typically people have these kinds of silos where data sits, and they extract it. You all probably know the Excel reports that fly around every day. So people have siloed data, they extract the data into Excel, do some magic there and do even more magic, and then attach the Excel to an email and send the email out, and that's basically the report. So by the time you get the report, the data is already outdated. It has been prepared by someone else, and then it's hard to actually reproduce the report that you got. So and the most crucial bit is you get analytics based on the assumptions and the questions that a person asked that sent you the report, or the person that sent the report to the person that sent you the report, etc. So it's getting really tricky if you can't get to a grip on the data on your own. So let me just close the door a bit so that my kids can dry their hairs and you hear still a bit more of me. So the more intelligent approach actually is to make data relevant, give them some context, and allow us to take action on them. That's basically the philosophy that I follow when I try to build reports. And to make it smarter, actually, what we try to achieve is create something that we call self-service data, which means you create data that allows people to answer their questions. Now, how do we get there? Actually, one thing is the typical cadence of extract, transform, load, transform. So Einstein Analytics talks of ETLT instead of just ETL, because you kind of transform and then load into something else and then transform again. So that's a sequence of ETLT in the transformation. And that means basically load everything from their sources where they are, Excel or CSV, databases, cloud databases, Salesforce, load into the cubes, and then mix and match things from these cubes to make more complex cubes. So that at the end, you can simply switch off the data source that brought the initial data, and you can still mix and match out of the cubes that you have. So for each analysis, we bring these interwoven cubes into one analysis, and then we create a dashboard out of this. And you can see the small button here is actually the action framework, where I clicked into the center of the chart and pointed at some of these bars, and then said open up, create new opportunity, because that's an embedded dashboard that shows the data for an account. And I create an opportunity. I can create an opportunity straight from the data. There's it. There it is in a bit larger. There's a custom translation of the new opportunity button, and it also could. there could also be cases where you don't have this Salesforce to surface the data. And this is where Einstein Analytics offers a REST API so that you can address the dashboards if you need to without the Salesforce context around that. But that's really an edge case, and it's not really typical to see Einstein Analytics dashboards via REST API in SAP's user interfaces. But technically, it's possible. So let's look at some examples that I built. I had to take screenshots instead of showing you straight in the orgs, so that you because I had to protect a bit of who the customer is and what we did for them. So bear with me. We can still click in my coffee machine data later on, and this is more or less the static things. What I built, for example, this looks pretty simple, like a pretty simple chart, but this is actually a chart that shows things that a customer doesn't buy. And as you see, you can't show nothing in a dashboard. It's pretty hard to actually do this. And then they didn't know. So what we did here is we thought we could compare this account with all the other accounts of a specific grouping that they had. So they know what kind of segment it is, they know the industry. And for what they do is they compare the actual customer, that's the red bars, to the same kind of accounts, that's the orange bars. And wherever the orange bar is higher than the red bar, you know that the reference group buys more of these products than the actual analysis group. And this is basically gives us an idea. If this customer buys more of article group 15, and in this case we know why, because it's a that's 15. The group 15 is lights and lighting, and this customer had an opportunity equipping a hospital with lights, and you can imagine how many light bulbs and lamps there are in a hospital. So no wonder that this specific customer buys much more light bulbs in than the bought much more light bulbs than other customers of the same group. But the specific thing is in group 12, that's the wiring, the copper wires. The customer doesn't buy as much as comparable groups, and this is something that should worry us, because probably this customer found a source of copper wire that is probably cheaper, probably more convenient, and this is actually what we want to uncover in this analysis. Again, looks like a fairly simple bar chart. It actually shows areas where we don't have enough information from what the customer is doing. And for this customer here, it's very important to uncover things that people don't buy, because they can't just say, oh, more revenue every day, more revenue every day, but they want to see the areas where they could have even more potential. And I show you the latest update on this chart. So what we're doing, basically, simple pie charts that compare the groups over a dynamic comparison group, and this is a bit of a magic that we do. Einstein Analytics allows you to completely make everything of this a parameter, so that you can swap out groupings and labels, etc. So that's once you started with making this parametric, means you can make say, I want to group this by industry. Oh no, I don't want to group this by industry, but by billing city or country. No worries, you can just inject values from one chart to the other and let everything talk and speak to each other, and that's really good fun. So this thing is highly dynamic, and I'll show you a bit of a stop motion of this dashboard in a few minutes. Even with the basic Einstein Analytics, you can really use the time series projections. So we can give a trend line where what the revenue in the future might be. It has the seasonality built in, and the thing that I show here is the upper and the lower margins of the projected revenue. And as you can see, the projection has a lot of potential and uncertainties to a higher revenue, but we're very close to the confidence interval of confidence is really narrow for the lower line. So we can say, okay, with a confidence of about 95%, we kind of know what the lowest line will be, but there's a lot of potential for more revenue in the future. And again, you see the spike for the hospital in March of this year. I'm not really. I don't have a lot of good examples of maps and geolocation components because I didn't build so many of them. This is for hotels that show you the share of nights in specific cities in Europe. There are a lot of people that can build nicer maps, but that's a visualization that's in particular fancy for to map things out. Einstein Analytics said it has beyond the traditional maps for geographic maps. You can also build shapes and areas out of data so that you can. I saw someone in the US mapped their neighborhood, or mapped a cow that kind of shifted in size and form based on the data they had. So for a milk producing company, the cow actually changed their shape if you had more butter and more cream in your product portfolio. A really fun thing, and that's also a map. It's like it's just a different type of map. It's a graphic then. And again, one good thing, one nice thing that you can build is targets versus actuals. A thing that you can't really do really well in standard reports, because in standard reports it's hard to maintain a second time series in your charts. You always have to build workarounds to compare month over month, or have dynamic comparisons. Like I want to compare March of 2020 with December of 2019, and this is what I built here. So everything is a year-over-year comparison, and you have a toggle that sets the year, and if you change the year, it shifts the comparison completely to that year, so that you can see projected visits and stays in a hotel as compared to the actual numbers, and go year over year to see how planning converted into revenue. That's almost impossible, even though the charts themselves look pretty easy and simple. That's something you cannot achieve with standard reports in Salesforce, to shift comparisons back and forth, do quick comparisons of timeframes over timeframes. And that's even more elaborate in this place, where we try to help a bakery to understand what people buy every day, and why they probably buy this. So is there and find gaps in specific locations, and we found quite interesting facts here. So you can see, for example, that bakeries that are located in large malls sell significantly less than the small cafe types, where you typically think there are less people passing by every day. Why actually should they be more efficient to run? Whereas the large malls, where hundreds and thousands of people pass every day, people don't stop to buy pretzels. So the analysis here is to understand why and where are people eating more pretzels in the bakery, and this is very important for bakeries, because the margin that they make of the revenue that they earn is really, really tight. And if they throw away things, the margin gets smaller and smaller, and even to a point where it doesn't make sense to actually bake something to sell it, because if you don't sell it, you're making a loss instead of earning something. So they really have to look what they sell where and how much they put on the shelves, so that they have as little as possible in leftovers every day. And we're digging deeper with the analytics part, the AI parts. I don't like the wording AI actually, because it's
Daniel, can I have a question?
Sure.
Yeah, this is Vasily. So I think the bakery case is a very interesting case, because I think the other question is on table, whether bakeries at the beginning can afford Einstein Analytics to get the result, to get this analytics, because it's costly.
Yeah, exactly. So, we actually we went a kind of special way. They bought analytics, but they don't actually invested much in Salesforce licenses. So they only bought platform licenses for for a few people, I think 10 or 15, but they have the largest analytics license. But the data prep is going through a Microsoft Azure database. So Einstein Analytics basically consumes millions and millions of rows every day from an Azure database. They create, I think, 70 to 90 million rows of information from their branches every day. So that's the product data that they sell from the like the rows from your receipt will be transferred over to Einstein Analytics. So that's they really calculated the ROI for this optimization case, and they decided to have a few licenses on Einstein Analytics to optimize the amount of the quantity of products that they bring into the bakeries every day. That's really, but I agree. If you have only, I think, 3% margin or 5% margin, it might be counterintuitive to buy Salesforce Einstein Analytics to spend even more money. It's actually a good question. So I already showed you the revenue forecast and revenue projections. That's another vision on the same thing, where we're kind of tracking. That's an experiment that we're running with the customer. We're doing a projection and keeping the projection and seeing and verify what the actual revenue over time is, because this is some business that is highly seasonal. If the sun shines, people go and use their pools, and if they use their pools, they need chemicals to keep the water clean. So you can easily see when the weather was warm and when pools need to be cleaned, you see this typical shape in these years. It's always a spike at the beginning, and then it goes a bit back, and then next February, March, it goes up again. And so you have growth, and you have the typical pattern in here, and they want to see how good is the prediction versus the actual outcomes. And that's what we see here. The upper chart is the prediction that is frozen, and the lower chart is are the actuals, and you can see where the snapshot was taken and how good the prediction actually was. It's still in an experimental phase to see how good we can actually get with predictions. Again, this is the key. This is the core of the Einstein discovery. so the prediction bit, the stories in Einstein Analytics Plus, and this is the most technical and or most mathematical Einstein Analytics can get in these kinds of waterfall charts. And this, for example, compares two different kinds of installers for electrical installations, and we try to find out why they are different in what they buy, and where the biggest drivers for these types of installers are the channels that they through which they order. One area is typically one that we can address when they pick up their material. That's this here. This is one of the drivers for one group, and this is and also where the one is having a small driver in the pickup of material. A large driver for the other one is ordering over the internet. So what we can read from this data is if we try to run campaigns for this type of customer, we won't meet them ever in the shop because they always buy over the internet, whereas we can address this kind of customer in the shop because pickup in the shop is something that they still find valuable. So this for the Einstein discovery stories, it's all about asking kind of questions. What is the difference between A and B? What could be what happened to make this different than this, etc. And you get these kinds of charts that you can put in. And once you find these kinds of insights, you can create this to an AI model, and run this kind of model on opportunity or order scoring, so that you can see adjust the size of an opportunity based on the insights that you found here, or could even say if it's is this person interested in buying something, or do they want to have an offer for a comparison? Did they come to the store? If they are not going to the store to pick up their stuff, why did they come to the store this time to ask for a price, for example? That's the place where you really design models in Einstein Analytics Plus to come to the
Daniel,
outcomes.
Yeah, another question. So how long it takes to design such a such a chart or whatever?
The thing to get to a model is quite fast. It surely takes a while. I mean, that's another model that we built on a data set that has 72 million rows. But it's the processing time is takes quite a while. But the chart itself is just you have to design like questions that you have to the data. It all is more or less questions and assumptions that you can click and try the model out. The bitter truth is actually you have to go through this process quite often. So I found it typically takes me half an hour to an hour to come to a set of insights. And then I create a model and try it out. And then I revisit the model, look at the metrics, how it worked, and create another model and another model and another model. And so typically you need about 5 to 7 models before you really start getting good results. Because you learn a lot about the data, you have to get rid of the bias. Your assumptions make the model worse, actually, because you don't look at everything, but you look at the easiest picks in the beginning. That's just humans. That's the way we work. So that's why we need more than 1, 2, 3, even 5 iterations to really get to good analysis. Let's see if I have the thing.
Daniel, and just to continue this. So I'm trying to to find the place of such kind of configuration in my ordinary work, right? So as a consultant, and I'm trying to imagine what was the objective, like how the task was formulated. So so who asked, and is there because to me it looks more like, if you sit in a big company and you're, for example, a business or data business analyst, right? Then you gather this task inside the company, that why don't we dig into this data and find some kind of business opportunities or whatever opportunities. So it's more like in-house thing, compared to an ordinary consultancy. When you get for example, what I do, I gather some kind of business requirements. We need to configure this interface or that interface or whatever, or we need to automate this kind of business process, right? Because this is a very, I think, from my perspective, maybe I'm mistaken here, but it looks like a completely different, kind of request from a customer.
Oh, yeah. For sure. It's not a typical thing. The question that we had here was to find out. It's the same company that did also the white space analysis to find out what customers are not buying. And that they really try to find out what is the difference between two different groups of customers and how to address them better. So the question was, can we find something that explains why this group doesn't buy the way the other group does? And this is more of exploration that you do. I can probably give a better example even here. That's back to the bakery case, where the question is, what can we do to deliver just enough bread or bread rolls or pretzels to the shops, so that they don't throw away stuff. And on the other hand, they have contracts that give them the requirement to always not let the shelves run completely empty at the end of the day, because if you are a bakery in a mall, the shelves must never be empty. Otherwise, the mall feels that it looks bad. Like you don't want to go to a mall where nothing is on the shelves. So they have to really get really close to the point where the shelves still look full, and yet they are just full enough to keep up the illusion that there's still something to sell. And this is where we try to where the task for an implementation partner is ask questions where the data about the data. Bring the relevant data to in one place. Bring the data into a form that is relevant, and then the big thing is write code that uses the model to create an order template for each of the stores. So we collect the data from the stores, run them through a model, get a prediction what tomorrow's order would be, and then create the order and push it back to the store to the ordering system for the stores, so that they get that they bake enough bread and then have enough bread in the just enough bread in the stores so that the shelves don't look empty at the end of the day. So there's quite a large process that we had to cover in this, and it's not just a simple what is your requirement, okay, I build it, here's go test it, roll it out, goodbye. That's not the kind that's a completely different kind of project. It's like try it out, let it run for 4 weeks, revisit the model, look at the statistics, go in again and go in again. So that's really completely different from the everyday consulting part. Okay, sales predict.
Daniel, and are these data are like something like more real time, or is it something I don't know, uploaded to the analytics model for a month or something like this?
it's for the sheer volume of the data that comes back from the stores gives us only time to load the data once, get the data back from the stores once. That's overnight, and because most of these stores don't have that much broadband capacity for the data comes from the point of sale systems, so they bring everything back to the central office over the night, and that's where we collect the data. And then there's a process running that calculates the logistics for the next day. So there are lots of ERP processes attached to that that run starts running in the afternoon, get data for the first time, create the orders and the predictions, make a production plan, etc. So it's not really real time that you can look into how your offices are doing, but you have data, fresh data every morning to see how the week is going. And this is a huge boost for them because the amount of data was so large that they had to consolidate them into an Excel every Monday, and then process them in the Excel to have it ready at the end of the week. So they were looking at the data the Monday after, so when the data was already 1 week old, because the data is there's so much volume in the data that they have to consolidate it, put it in Excel. Excel is slow. Preparation takes a long time. So it's seeing the data every morning is already a new millennium for them. It's just.
However, you don't see the number of pretzels left in the nearest supermarket on your mobile device, right?
Yeah, that's a big dream actually. They want to have always have 2 pretzels left in the supermarket, and that's exactly the 2 you need so that the people don't think that the store is empty. But that's actually here's some kind of prediction. So that says we predict that you only sell 2 of this. That's a specific kind of bread. So two of them should be sold over the day, and there's and it basically says one of the reasons why it goes up is that it is shipped to a specific account, and one other factor is that it's a specific bread, a type of bread. So the specific type of bread is driving the numbers lower than expected, and the account itself is a driver to the upside. And you see how that the model itself is not really good at this stage, because it says one of the drivers is also the delivery, the total pieces delivered to that branch. So it values stuff that is not really helpful. But it explains that out of the 7 breads that you send to the shop, probably 5 of them are not being bought, and that's insights that you can get from the data. But that's from an early stage of the analysis, actually. So, and that's really something that you have to take in mind whenever you work with AI models, that there is your own assumption is in there, because you pick the factors that you value the most. So be careful with your bias that you bring to the data, and also you have to when you determine factors, you have to determine what the factors actually are. And if you say here one of the drivers is the total delivery, okay, not really helpful, because it basically says send less bread to the store, so you will sell less, or send more to the store and you sell more. So there are fancy outcomes here. The question is, how can I sell more? And the question is, if you send between 20 and 1,000 breads, you will sell 1.2 breads more at some stages. So we had good laughs in the analysis as well. Like, okay, if I send 1,000 breads and sell only 1 more, not a good idea. But it's the that's statistics basically. Okay, let's jump a bit, take a step back and basically explain, because I've been asked that question quite a number of times, when do you actually need Tableau or want to buy Tableau? And when do you want to buy Einstein Analytics? The answer that Salesforce gives is better together. You need both, as you might have guessed. I'm not sure if you really need both, but you have to make sure who's actually the target group for your analytics. Is it Salesforce users? Are you preparing data that is close to Salesforce processes? Then it's typically Einstein Analytics that you want to buy. And also the integration in the core platform, especially the data sync and sharing. You can apply the same data sharing sources on the data in Einstein Analytics, which allows you to effectively restrict visibility in Einstein Analytics. That's only in Einstein Analytics and not in Tableau. And the straight and the easy integration into page layouts and the action framework that allows you to take action straight off data, that's only in Einstein Analytics. Tableau is generally much stronger in data prep. So pulling in data, preparing data is much easier and much better in Tableau. And I personally think the visualizations are great as well. And the other thing is they are not tied to Salesforce user licenses, whereas Einstein Analytics only works in combination with Salesforce user licenses. And this is actually quite a catch. If you see 150 euros per Sales Cloud license list price plus 75 for Einstein Analytics growth, that's 225 euros as compared to one license, one seat for Tableau. And that's it. It's always a trade-off in the licenses. And when you present data to people who are not in Salesforce and let them report on data from Salesforce, from other sources, Tableau is definitely stronger. But you shouldn't make the external sources the thing that differentiates your choice of products, because Einstein Analytics can consume a lot of external sources as well. And that's what we typically do. We typically pull data from ERP and CRM, bring them together. That's also possible in Einstein Analytics. I have an example for that in my coffee maker experiment in a minute.
Do you happen to know if there are any plans to merge these products together? Probably not tomorrow, but because it seems like, they're doing well, not exactly the same things, but these are more or less competing products between each other.
Oh, I'm quite sure that I shouldn't say anything about it, but my 5 cents is I kind of see a tendency in replacing standard reporting functionality with Einstein Analytics features. Think about analytic snapshots. The capabilities of the analytic snapshots are so limited, and if I have Einstein Analytics, you just can take the snapshot straight to analytics, and it works all completely seamless. So I'm wondering if there will be something like did you see the new email template editor for Lightning email templates, which is more or less the same product than it is in Pardot. I assume that there might be a shift in that they are pushing Einstein Analytics more towards what the standard report capabilities were. And on the other hand, a lot of integration technologies are getting developed that are used basically the same foundation for Tableau and Einstein Analytics. The new sync out Einstein Analytics can now sync back to Snowflake, for example. This is basically an effort of the Tableau and Einstein Analytics team combined, so that you can prepare data in Einstein Analytics and push the whole data set back to Snowflake, for example. That's an effort that is already a joint effort from both products. So probably the more advanced technologies merged together, and probably the basic capabilities of the growth licenses, maybe they just go completely in towards the platform. I don't know, but my assumption would be they kind of separate the plus parts and the growth parts and merge the plus parts in Tableau. I don't know. The technology team in integration works closely together as far as I know so far.
Yeah, interesting insight. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, one last try or static demo. It's that's the most advanced version of the white space dashboard, where you could also already see the potential revenue in green, and the areas where the customer sells much more than the comparison, where you have, from my opinion, where you have something in risk at risk. So that's something like in this product group, take care, and in these products groups, there's potential for you. The fun thing that we can do here, and that's only a possibility for Einstein Analytics, is here's that kind of selector where you can choose which how granular the product groups might be, and we design something that you can switch this to another group field to group by. So I just switched the fields to group by. Now it is a completely different field on the opportunity line item level. And I can drill in deeper by just switching the fields to group by. And now we're on a 4-digit product number field. And we can now swap out the comparison group to make something completely different. And then browse through the same thing. And oops, that was fast. And this is I'm sorry. So this is basically the capability of Einstein Analytics is really strong in making all of these components interactive. Let you select something on the one hand side, and then make the other charts follow the thing that you selected. Swap out the underlying fields that are grouped and summarized, and that's a really impressive capabilities. Yeah, that's basically the my hobby project. We do have a coffee maker in the office, and the coffee maker has a machine data interface. Machine data interface means you remove the hood of the machine, and then you connect a USB flash drive to the machine, and you get the consumption data. And I'm trying to do some magic and write a bit about plugging and reverse engineering data. And this is what I built there. It's a dashboard that shows the number of cups of coffee served over the past 14 months. So that's an impressive number. I started the project when I saw how tried to find out how long the water filter might last, and I found that in the first 6 months of using the coffee machine, we boiled coffee from over 4,500 liters of water. So that's when I tried to find out more about this, and I tried to pull the data and find what kind of when the most busy days are. And you can definitely see the COVID crisis hit the machine hard. People started to stay at home, and then there's almost nothing left of the coffee consumption. Summer was coffee consumption started to grow back, and that was when the second outbreak of COVID in Germany came. And you can also see that over the day, there are more busy hours than others. Like people come to the office, get their coffee, then work a bit, then they have lunch, and then they will have coffee again. And Einstein Analytics basically offers you the opportunity to click into the to the busiest hour and see and have all immediately manipulate all the other charts by the selection that you made. From what I saw, I tried to find out what kind of products people get from our coffee machine, and I saw that people seem to prefer espresso and the cafe au lait option. And this is what got me thinking, because I do have a habit to go to the coffee maker with my friend from the same office, and I typically drink cafe au lait, and he typically drinks an Americano. And Americano, if you're used to how the cafe Americano is made, it's a double espresso and a shot of hot water. And if you look closer, the numbers of Milchkaffee, cafe au lait, and espresso seem to are pretty close to 2 espressos per one cafe au lait. So that actually got me thinking: are there other people in the company that actually drink have the same routine, or is this just me and Sebastian? Could it really be that we are the power users of that machine? Because the pattern is really obvious, like 700 cups of cafe au lait, 1,225 cups of espresso. That's almost 1 to 2. It really is a pattern where for the days that both of us are in the office. And this is when I started joining the coffee data to personnel data. So the dark flow, there's the light blue line is the cups served for that day, and the blue line is the number of people checked in who checked into the office. And I'm trying to drill down into, was I at the office? Was Sebastian at the office? Did we? Is there a significant change in the kind of products that have been served? So I'm getting closer to the. But then COVID started, and everyone started to check in online and bill their hours online. But nobody went to the coffee maker, so my statistic is a bit broken at the moment, because I don't get good data from the coffee maker, and no data means it's just Sebastian and me drinking coffee at home. So I don't get to that point. But the story behind this is, gives you just an insight on what analytics can do, and how it sieves through data quite fast and allows you to manipulate the dashboards quite fast. For Sunday, for example, there's over the last 2 years only a few people were there and were drinking coffee, but actually some people booked time on Sundays, and some people were there around 3 p.m. and had coffee. Needless to say, that's typically the time when I pick up the data from the coffee maker. So I go there on Sundays, have a cup of coffee, and pull the data from the machine. I don't need to show you what's on the lower half of the chart, because there's obviously the Milch cafe au lait product. Yeah, that's work in progress, and that's a use case that I like to show to customers, because it's not related to real business data. Cool.
How did you collect the data from the coffee machine? I mean, this connection, and how did it track the information?
Oh, terrible story. I wrote a lot of blogs about this. I do have the coffee maker actually has writes an XML file to a directory that I collect, and the XML file has a terrible structure actually. So let me just open the coffee. Where's the coffee data set? I kind of have to still have to reverse engineer what's going on, because the machine writes machine data in a way engineers label their fields. They don't call the field for the product name. They don't call it names, but they use NA for the name field. A cryptic shitty way to label a field. Every one of you concerned with field names knows. Don't say give your fields a shitty name. So that's basically the kind of data that we get back from the machine. It's literally nothing at the beginning, and you have to plow your way through. So the count of rows is not representative. We rather go for the quantity. That's the number of cups that we serve. And we can go for the product name. I reverse engineered these already. So it's the kind of data that we have. And then there are numerical values that BI something, BP something. That's what the machine makes. A max number, a MIV number, and I just have to figure my way out. So VIV, so that's the kind of plowing that I did. VIV1 is high for a product called Chococino and a product called Chocolate, and there's no VIV1 in the coffee products. So that's obviously the flow meter count for the coffee powder, for the chocolate powder that they put into only the cocoa, chocolate and cocoa drinks. And that's the nasty and terrible way of reverse engineering the data that's in there. Let's see, there's probably another thing. This is the boiler temperature probably. We can't go for the sum, we have to go for the average. For the variance, let's say the average. Still, that's probably not a temperature. That's probably the temperature in the Prue cycle. Yeah, it is. So that's the one of the secrets that they try to keep from you. The temperature cycles that they run on the Prue cycle. So they start at 93 degrees for coffee creme, and they have the cappuccino where they want to have the stronger aromatics at the beginning. They boil it at 95 degrees, and we can see if the machine works well if we go for the this variance in the standard deviation in variance in temperature of the boiler 1. So I can't really make something out of this actually, but it looks there's a completely different profile for Chococino. That's a cappuccino with chocolate. So they, but there's a lot of milk and foam, so high pressure in the and high temperatures in the cycle. And also here's espresso macchiato with lots of milk foam in comparison to the product. So they have a higher variance in the pressure and the temperatures that they run in the boiler. I'm trying to figure out what to make with this data, because it's completely pointless to drill in, but it's on the other way, it's fun to reverse engineer the interface. And actually, if you're asking for the interface, seriously, that's the interface that I have, a flash drive to connect to a hidden USB port in the machine. No joke. But you can buy the a wireless interface for the machine. It's I think 5,000 euros extra or so, because you have to get a contract for data transfer, etc. Yeah, that's the bitter end. So the message, I probably got completely taken away with all the fancy stuff that I like about analytics. If you want to try it out, I have put the links to the sign up forms for an analytics demo org. You need to sign up for a specific demo org so that you have large data volumes in the org prepared. So you can typically try out Einstein Analytics in the sample in the developer orgs, but it's better in the analytics demo where I think 50 million rows of something are already in there. And let's say a trail mix on Trailhead that you should try out, and also there is a sign up for a developer org with large data volume in there, so that you can have fun with real data. If you want to be more on the cynical side, you can use the COVID data produced by the government authorities everywhere. But it might be a bit of a depressing data set that you can use there. So with that, that's basically all I prepared for today. Probably a lot, quite a lot, and probably in areas that you don't even need every day. But I wanted to have you a full range of what I did in Einstein Analytics so far. If you have questions, use the time and shoot them. If not, thank you very much for hosting me and inviting me. It's always fun to go to places where I've never been before. I wish I could have gone to Moscow instead of just dialing in.
Yeah, we're waiting for you here.
Obviously, I'm not sure if I get visa if I wear my golden shoes.
Yeah, golden shoes can replace the visa. You just need to show them.
Yeah.
Customs, so they will just let you in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're like, oh, that guy has an awesome shoes. Yeah.
Hello. I have one question. So this whole Einstein thing and Tableau thing, they are relatively new to a Salesforce platform, and many people don't yet used to work with it.
Mm-hmm.
So if we talk about the market, if we talk about demand versus supply, so let's say we can get some experience in it, trying trail mix, etc. But at some point you have to work with the real customer. And how do you get to that point where you have like a real customer needing this analysis and all that stuff? And the question is, what do you think about all that?
Oh, very personal story. We as a company have an Einstein Analytics subscription from 2015. So back to the day and at the days when it was Wave Analytics, and we skilled up for analytics in late 2015, early 2016, and it wasn't until 2019 until we first had a customer that ran analytics projects. And within a few months, we had 4 or 5 projects. Then over the whole year of 2020, I didn't sell it. And then I had an opportunity where they bought Einstein Analytics on my advice, but didn't choose my company as the implementation partner after all. So the question is a really good one. How do you keep your skill current and valuable while you don't have a customer for that? And where do you start?
Actually, you have a coffee for this.
Yeah, right. But the coffee machine is quite pricey, and analytics is quite pricey. So if it wasn't for the fun of it, and if you didn't have that money to pay these licenses all the time, I wouldn't have any use case for analytics for I think 3 or 4 years. And that's really complicated to learn it and to maintain the knowledge. What I what I'd recommend is to, if you're interested in the topic, you can have the developer orgs where the number of records are limited. I think they can have a quarter of 1,000,000 rows to keep in the database. So it's almost nothing compared to the 10 billion of rows that a production org may have. But it helps you to keep the knowledge current. And for Einstein Analytics, Ricke Hofgaard, now a principal evangelist for Einstein Analytics, writes a really wonderful blog at salesforceblogger.com. And she really makes it so easy to follow that you can learn even without professional experience. And I can't tell you how often I read through her blogs to learn something. It's just a good resource. So if the topic if the topic is interesting for you, set some time aside and build something with open data. There's a lot of open data in the world that you can get. Probably election data from the US will be available somewhere in the future. And run your analysis with that to learn the basic techniques, and then or use the sample data in the demo orgs, and then try to get a grip on that thing. And it's obviously, if you can present it to a customer, if you can present a case that's cool to the customer, it's easier to find a customer who actually wants to buy it. So it's kind of a circle. If you have good cases, customers will come. If customers will come, you can build cool cases, etc. But I can understand it's really hard to start with such a niche product. It really is a marginal product in the product family. So if you want to have an honest advice, if you don't have a good reason to start Einstein Analytics or analytics at all, you probably won't have to, you shouldn't start now, and rather wait until you see an opportunity to learn. I mean, you have to make priorities. There are so many Salesforce products. Probably if there's no use case now, it's just time to say, okay, I let this go by and don't start it now, and make it a holiday project, for example. That's what I typically do. I take new products for Christmas holidays, and then build and try something on location. This is where the coffee maker started as well.
What's your upcoming plan for the new product for the new vacation? I mean, it's coming soon.
I feel I'm officially Manufacturing Cloud accredited, but we don't have a Manufacturing Cloud customer at the moment. So what I want to do is build the Manufacturing Cloud in a Scratch org. You know, I'm a part-time developer, more or less. I've grown out of the developer role, and you can use the tooling of Salesforce DX to create any org with any license in it, and then simply build and pre-build stuff. So I typically, whenever something's new, I create an org with the licenses in it, and then try it out to prepare the team and prepare the company for the new product. And for the next thing I want to get my hands on and really build from the beginning is Manufacturing Cloud, to try it out.
Interesting. Yeah. Good luck in it.
Yeah, at some points there are often some products in Salesforce where you wish yourself luck that it really works, or you're doomed. Do you know the situation when you start a project with a product that you really don't know in detail, and you can just pray that it works or not? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. B2B Commerce Cloud, for example, is a product where I prayed a lot that it all goes well. It went quite well, but I had to pray a lot.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. For I think the last part was quite important to understand when you actually need this. Need to start, like where will be the good moment to start. Like I think there is a lot of anxiety, especially when new products coming in from Salesforce, or Salesforce bought somebody and you don't know, like, do you need this right away?
Right.
Will your manager will come to you and ask about it, or like Einstein is here quite a few years, but still, like I think even standard features, like, let's say more standard features is not quite used, like lead scoring or opportunity scoring is still on somewhere on horizon.
Yeah, I have no clue what the politics about the Einstein brand actually will be, because if you buy Einstein Analytics, you don't get lead scoring. It's just a completely the same kind of brand or so, but it's completely different product, and that's you only get it when you buy Einstein Sales Cloud. But with Einstein Analytics, you get Prediction Builder, which has nothing to do with analytics. It's just a core feature that it's switched on. So I can understand everyone who has lots of confusion about the whole product setup, because it makes little sense. And currently, and you see the Einstein brand is completely gone for analytics now.
Yeah, folks, I think we have some questions missed in the chat.
Oh yeah.
Apart from probably the picture you didn't expect to see there.
This must have been someone who took the photo at Prague, French Touch Streaming. Georgie. Okay, good. Yeah, okay. Very nice. Okay.
There is also a question about the skill set. Like, what kind of skill set is required to configure in Einstein Analytics, like low code, average code, no code?
No, it tends to be a no code. It tends to be a no code thing, but then there are situations when what you need is a good idea about statistics and how you actually drill into data. If you don't know what don't have an idea what the words mean, what's the difference between the average and the mean or a median, it's kind of tricky to get insights, but it's actually knowledge that you learn when you analyze data in Excel. So you need an interest in data. That's even more important than can you code. Can you code or SQL experience will allow you to do more, but it doesn't allow you give you the touch on data. Whereas when you know how to handle data, you can learn the rest. So it's basically a no-code application, except where you have to write that kind of strange SQL dialect called SAQL, SAQL. They have a query language that you can write to get even better queries. And this query language is very, very special and specific to that kind of in-memory database that they use. So that's a tough nut to crack, and makes it hard for many people. Luckily enough, the days are gone where you had to write all the queries by hand. It's basically click and point and click, as you've seen. So the skill is basically an interest and a good an interest in data and a good feeling about data, and basically no code, but a mindset that wants to explore something, find something in data. That's more important than being able to code. So let me see what else is there. Pretzels are sold better in Germany than oil and gas in Russia. Don't know. But
about the S&P 500 and Nasdaq prediction.
Right. The first thing that the bakery guys I worked with the bakery guys on the pretzel predictions, and the first thing that they did was uploading the Bitcoin conversion to euro and get predictions on that. So your instinct on what you do with a subscription to Einstein Analytics is completely correct, actually. Pretzels sell better than oil and gas in Russia. At least if you say an average German bakery sells about 15% or so of the daily sales in these pretzels and other things of the type of pretzels. So it's seriously it's an important stock in German bakeries. If you land somewhere on a German airport or a train station, you will see pretzel stores all over the place.
So it's like a staple food in Germany.
Absolutely.
It's
what they think what people eat when traveling.
I have one more question. So data science and machine learning are currently like very trendy topics. And I know people who worked for 10 years in Salesforce and then switched to data science, started learning new things because it's more interesting, it's more challenging. So with Salesforce Einstein, how much freedom do you have to fulfill your ambitions as a data science engineer? So do you have a freedom to play on a low level with it, or is it just on a high level, on a consultancy level?
Very good question. Extremely good question, because that's actually the point that separates Salesforce from other tools. Salesforce chose to give you not much freedom in terms of what you can do with the products in Einstein Analytics. So for the machine learning models, you cannot manipulate them by writing code or so, or for data scientists in the machine learning area, there is being able to write something in R or TensorFlow is pretty much most of them can do either R or Python and have that and use some libraries, and everything you can compile the data models in the models in Einstein Analytics to R code, and you can inspect the code, but you cannot change anything about this. So for the real hardcore data scientists, what Einstein Analytics offers is just a toy. But that's not their approach. Their approach is what they call self-service data analysis. That means you prepare the data, prepare data sets, and prepare analysis, create story-like analysis, and pass this on to the business to answer their questions. So the kind of data analyst that is at ease and at home with the Salesforce tools is not necessarily a hardcore data scientist. I'm not sure if that's the answer you hoped for, but basically, I think that's the way it goes in Salesforce. And again, that's the go-to question actually for if you want to understand where Salesforce stands in terms of data analysis and data science. It's their approach is a bit different from building the best tool in data analysis. They definitely can't do this with Einstein Analytics, but they want to build the tool that is best suited to answer the questions of business users when phrased by business users. And the data analyst and data scientist in Einstein Analytics is there to prepare the data sets and insights to guide the business.
Hey, Daniel, on our client side, what roles are expected to be, like who you expect to be on the client side to have this project successful? Like, for example, for Salesforce, it's probably Salesforce admin, but for Einstein or for Tableau, is it another guy, or it's the same guy, Salesforce admin, or it should be more than one role actually?
Again, depends a bit on the size of the projects. The project that I ran was me taking a bit of a Einstein Analytics consultant plus some admin skills. So I natively bring these admin skills, so I didn't bother to have a dedicated admin on the project, but basically a business analyst that has good feeling for data science can do both of the roles in just one person. It needs the kind of nerd on the customer side as well. So I typically work with the one or two data persons in the company, often business data analysts, data scientists very close to the business, who know the data, who know the questions, who can articulate what the business needs to know. And then we work in a conversational way through the questions they have. And there are definitely times when I have to build the data flows and data sets and pre-build the analyses that we agreed on. And this is typically the way where you work with IT guys. And often there's in these IT departments, there's one guy who's responsible for data warehousing or data analysis, data science. And these guys typically help to in the project. So if I could make a wish for the perfect small project constellation, it would be a data an Einstein Analytics consultant and admin in can be one person, could be two. So probably there are some people who are rather good at consulting but can't do the implementation. But I typically do this in one person, and then a data guy on the business team, and probably the data or data warehousing guy on the IT team. This could be also one person or two, but have a small group that is capable of talking about data and the relevance for the business. Gives a good start for a project. Typically the budgets that I see for analytics projects aren't so large that you can have like 2 or 3 analysts and on the implementation partner side and 5 to 7 analysts on the customer side. They don't have that much money to invest into analytics. So my view might be biased from the kind of customers that bought Salesforce Analytics.
So it still can be suitable for small, let's say, medium-sized company.
Yeah, yeah, true. The typical implementations sizes that we see is ranging from 200 to 1,000 licenses, and we have some companies with just 50 and some with 4,000. But our customers typically have somewhere between 200 and 500 something licenses, and you typically have a small 10 to 20 days project for advanced analytics, and this is where we place Einstein Analytics.
Okay, so it can be done in a month. It's pretty small.
Yeah, sure. I typically, that's the typical strategy that I choose for analytics project, that I create rather chunk sizes to educate one person on the customer side and create something with them, but allow them to deliver value really fast, 1 to 2 weeks or even a month, and see, okay, that works, that's good, that's cool for the business. Let's do another thing and another thing and another thing, connect another system or so. That's my typical strategy. I typically do very focused projects, most often centered around a dashboard or a specific question.
Great.
Okay.
Right, guys? Any other questions?
Any other questions?
All right, then I guess that's it for the day. Thanks, Daniel, once again.
Yeah, thank you. Interesting topic today. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and have a good one.
Thank you very much.
Late at you.
We're waiting
Thanks.
for you in Moscow.
Okay.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks, Daniel. Bye.